What's up, guys and gals? It's your host with the most, Griever, as always, bringing you guys some more Ayakashi Triangle, Chapter 122 review. I apologize that it's out late. That being said, this chapter, not really a whole lot to discuss because we haven't really resolved anything for Matsuri by the end of this chapter. I mean, we can go through it a little bit here. This one was more focused on ending the fight against the Medusa, showing off Hinujiki's new power, and, of course, Matsuri Kazumaki returning home, while once again, though, she just feels, or he in her body, whatever, feels more, hasn't solved anything, hasn't figured anything out, is just less negative, less depressed about the situation, and it's more like, well, haven't really resolved or figured anything out, but I guess I should go home, sort of idea, right? And I should still just be there for Suzu and not let her worry, sort of idea. So they haven't really figured out anything yet. So there's not really a whole lot to discuss other than the fact that this chapter was pretty good as an action-packed chapter. Action-packed chapter. Fighting with his new powers. He's still got the mouth, the original Jinyo that devours everything. You know what I mean? He's got on these really cool like gauntlet gloves that are like floating as these fiery ghost gauntlet hand things. It just looks really cool. I'm trying to think of what it reminds me of. I think it reminds me of something like sort of from Shaman King sort of esque. It's reminding me of like a spirit form of something like that. Like, here is my oversoul, and you got the the claw hands and stuff like that. So it does look pretty cool. This thing is quite powerful as it ends up taking out the Medusa pretty easily. Like, anytime it gets close, keeps just grabbing, but the mouth is on the palm of the hand and grabbing the snake heads and just clean off, biting them right off, tearing them right off. Now Hinujiki says this is my Jinyo alien power, of course, and stuff like that. And it's called Wicked Devourer. It is a cool shot. It does look interesting. It is pretty cool looking. So I hope we have more of Hinujiki in the future in some more chapters now that we know where he is. He's stable. He's at Lucy's house, that kind of idea, working for Lucy. So I expect him to pop up a little more now back into the story, which would be cool now that he's got this new power and stuff. He'd be a good ally to have in a fight. The thing is, of course, the Medusa's eyes are still working and stuff like that, even though they're attacking. They can't seem to figure out like how to stop this thing. This is where Matsuri ends up jumping up and stabbing with the pinwheel. Sort of a little dark here, for Shonen-esque style, but once again, we get away with a lot more in this series. But ends up taking the pinwheel that he uses for the wind powers and stabs the Medusa right in the eye to close up the eye. Because it looked like, to me, I could be wrong about this, but it looked like Hinujiki used the Wicked Devourer to take out and rip off and eat the eyes, eat the Medusa's eyes, but they reformed, unlike the snakeheads, they reformed right back like it was nothing. And he notices that, and so they can't seem to defeat it. This is where stabbed in the eye, but it's permanent because it's a physical object and it's sitting in there, can't seem to heal. Now, still has the power to use its right eye to try to turn Matsuri to stone, so this was a bit of a gamble. Though Matsuri says turning to stone takes twice as long when you're only using one of your eyes, huh? So took a gamble on that sort of idea, but was not only just stabbed the pinwheel into the eye to close one of them, but at the same time to also use the wind abilities to feel out, use it as a sort of a lightning rod or an antenna sort of idea to source out where's the source of the power. Figures out it's at the very back of the head. That's where the Ayakashi is drawing all its power from. So gambles on turning to stone himself so that Hinujiki can deal the final blow, and then tells and yells as such, the back of its head, that's where to go. Boom. Matsuri turns to stone, and that's when Hinujiki attacks and defeats it. And he says, I know why my power took this form. It reminded me of when I fought against you guys and how the way you guys fought, to be like you guys back when you saved me. I wanted to do it with my own two hands. So he actually basically puts one of the gloves on and slam, gets at the back of the head. He's using one he attaches to his arm, so sort of like how Matsuri can punch and stuff, and one he uses to run around, like glide and fly, like Suzu does. So sort of that's why his new power has taken this form, is so he can fight in the same vein that they do, fight like them, taking inspiration the way they fought. So a really nice moment in this chapter for Hinujiki. explaining why his power is the way it is, what it can do. Still in the vein of not only fighting like they do, but it still devours. He's still a Jinyo. It still works that way, right? So pretty cool there. Nice shot. They end up taking out the Medusa, so we're not going to get any sexy, boobalicious snake girl. That's too bad. All right, well, it is what it is. Everybody turns back to normal. They realize they still remember. Usually in these situations where innocents are harmed, it's always like, wow, I just had the strangest dream, or what was I doing again? You know, that kind of idea. No, they all know they were turned to stone, and Lucy feeds them a whole lot of bullshit about UFOs and aliens about it. Though I was right about a sculpture. I was correct about a sculpture. There was a medallion, sort of small sculpture head. But it seemingly there was no break in the sculpture, but it wasn't a painting, it was a sculpture. So I'm sort of half right on that regard. Now, and part of the chapter, as I said, Matsuri finally returns home. While still not really figuring anything out, Hinojiki does end up asking, like, why were you so reckless and took that gamble to return to stone? Matsuri basically said, well, I knew you'd handle it. If I could figure out the weakness, I relied on you to save the day. You know, sort of like we're on the same side now. I believe I can trust in you, you know, to win. So it wasn't to Matsuri, it wasn't a gamble. It was, this is what needs to do so we can win. There was no doubt. And sort of a nice friendship moment between Hinojiki and Matsuri there. So pretty good, ending off the chapter with Hinojiki and stuff like that. His character arc, not, I guess, coming to a complete close, but at least we have some closure if we don't get any more arcs really involving him as a character anymore. If we get to see him again, that's fantastic. But, you know, if he doesn't evolve past this, he's done his character bit. He's done his character arc from original villain to, you know, to a very sadistic villain, to unsure of himself, to being controlled, and now being on, you know, one of the guys, one of the main cast. So that's cool. Now, as I said, Matsuri doesn't figure anything out. The words exactly at the end of the chapter, though, are, we have the same goal. You and my former enemy made me realize this. Hinojiki is, now I understand why Soga was so mad at me. I was lost. And this is true. Lost in their thoughts, lost in what to do, lost in who they are. Which were understandable feelings at this point, but ends up texting and says, sorry for worrying you, I'm going back home. No matter what form my body takes, I want to protect Suzu from right by her side, as long as my wind revolves around her. Says, I am Matsuri Kazumaki. So, here's the thing. So we still see Shirogane and the boy Matsuri standing by while Suzu rushes to, you know, give Matsuri a hug and, like, welcome back, that kind of idea, right? The thing is, as I said before, nothing's really been figured out. Matsuri has simply resolved himself to the fact that, so maybe I'm not the real one. I'm still unsure about this. I'm still lost. I'm still depressed about this and stuff. Never confirms that he's not, and it would be weird if he wasn't. But says basically, at the end of the day, though, I still want to protect Suzu. I'm still in love with Suzu, and I still want to protect Suzu. For all intents and purposes, I'm still me. And for right now, that's going to have to be good enough. So I don't know if the Japanese did a better job of this. I think the translation, there might be something lost in translation, because I just feel like it should have been better explained in that way. To say, we haven't figured anything out yet. There are unresolved issues and stuff, because, you know, this is a relationship and stuff. And of course, this is supernatural, but it's still a relationship. But despite all the transgressions, despite all my feelings about that, despite all the unresolved conflict that revolves around this, the fact still remains, I am in love with Suzu and want to be by her side. And that's going to have to basically be good enough for now. That's sort of what I was gathering from this. I'm sort of hoping that's what it originally was intended to be. Because this is more of a positive note, like, yay, well, we'll never have to figure this out. Everything's hunky-dory now. When it's not, just the way it's written and the way the vibe is coming off. But it is what it is. It was still a solid chapter. I was just hoping that the translation, I'm hoping that's more of a translation thing, and that the Japanese made it seem more of what I'm talking about. But have to wait and see. You know, I have no idea. This is the official translation, so what else can you do? But that's the chapter. That's Ayakashi Triangle, chapter 122, Wicked Devourer. Devourer? Is devourer even a word? That sounds like a kid made that up. Like, you devoured it. I devoured it. You know, like, I don't know. I don't know if devourer is an actual word. But that's the chapter title, regardless. Anyways, that's the review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts on what's going to happen next time on chapter 123 of Ayakashi Triangle. Looking forward to it. Hope you guys are too. I'll see you back here next time. Sayonara.